All right, so for this practice, first we're gonna look at equations with fractions. Now, just like you would normally start, you're gonna wanna draw your line down to separate the sides of the equation. And then just like we do with a regular two-step, you're gonna look for any addition or subtraction. Well, right here, we have +6, that's addition. We're going to undo it with our opposite, also known as inverse operation. So that'd be -6, and we're gonna do that to both sides. All right, we didn't do anything to the 1/2 x, so that comes straight down. 6 minus 6 would just be 0, so that's gone on that side. 10 minus 6 would be 4, so we have 1/2 x equals 4. Remember, if a number is right next to the variable, that means multiplication. So we have 1/2 times x. Well, to undo multiplication, we're gonna have to divide by 1/2 on both sides. 1/2 divided by 1/2 just cancels out, so we just have x. 4 divided by 1/2 would give us 8. So x equals 8. If you're not sure, you can plug it back into the original problem and do 1/2 times 8 plus 6 and see if it equals 10. All right, let's try another one. We have this problem over here. Again, we're gonna draw our line. We're gonna get rid of any addition or subtraction. So x is being divided by 2 plus 16. So to get rid of that 16, we're gonna have to subtract 16 from both sides. Well, 16 minus 16 would just be 0. So on this side, we just have my x over 2 that comes straight down. And then we have 32 minus 16, which is 16. So our equation is x over 2 equals 16. Remember, in equations, your fraction bar can mean division. So that's x divided by 2 equals 16. The opposite of division is multiplication. So we're gonna times both sides times 2. When we do that, these 2's are gonna cancel out and I'm left with just x. 16 times 2 is 32. So x equals 32 would be your final answer. To double check it, you would take what x is, find x in the original equation, and replace it with 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16. 16 plus 16 is 32, so we're good. All right, next I want to show you some of those unusual equations that we talked about. Remember, these don't necessarily follow the two-step order. You still want to draw your line, because that's always just a good place to start. But the difference over here is that even though there's not parentheses, we can kind of assume that they are. It's x minus 6 divided by 3. Since this whole thing is divided by 3, the first thing we're gonna have to do is multiply times 3. So we're gonna take this entire side, all of this, I'll write it down here, times 3, and then this side also has to be times 3. When we multiply times 3, our 3's are gonna cancel out, and we're gonna be left with just x minus 6 equals 10 times 3 is 30. Now we're back to a regular, just one-step equation, x minus 6 equals 30. The opposite of subtracting 6 would be adding 6. And we would do it to both sides. So we would have x equals 36 as our final answer. To check it, you would plug 36 into where x is. 36 minus 6 is 30. 30 divided by 3 does equal 10. All right, I'm gonna show you one more. This one right here, very similar. You're still gonna start with drawing your line. Since everything on this side of the equation is being divided by 10, we're gonna have to multiply everything on this side times 10, and then everything on this side times 10. Multiplying times 10 is going to cancel these out. So I just have 4 plus x equals 2 times 10 is 20. All right, so 4 plus x equals 20. Since it's adding, we're going to subtract the 4 from both sides. And we get x equals 16. 20 minus 4 is 16. Again, to double check, you could take the answer that you got and plug it back in. 4 plus 16 is 20. 20 divided by 10 does equal 2. So you know it works.